getting there, where we're always surviving, we're sometimes thriving, and we're just trying our best to make it. I'm Shelby, and I'm here with my co-host.
I'm Diana.
And this podcast is produced on her campus, and this podcast is produced through her campus, through Loyola University, Chicago. We're here to talk about the transition that comes with being a young woman on the cusp of something and how scary and exciting and interesting and crazy that is. Mm-hmm. We're just trying to get there. You feel?
You feel? Yes,
I feel.
I definitely do. But before we begin, we are both women who appreciate a good tune. And as we get there on our own morning commutes, we love a good song recommendation, song, podcast, all of that. So before we start, we want to give you a quick song and podcast recommendation. So you want to go ahead?
Yes. I have been obsessed ever since it came out this entire year with Maggie Rogers, her album.
Queen.
I literally have not stopped listening to it since it came out.
It's so good.
It is my album of 2019. So this week especially, I've had Back in My Body on repeat, which is, I think, my favorite song on the album.
Just like strong exhale through that. 'Cause
it truly is.
I feel like she's not a lot of people's like regular style, but she has infiltrated like all of my friends' playlists just because she's good.
Well, when she describes like what her style is, she says it's a blend of electronic dance music and folk music. And if you know me, you know that when like you ask like, hey Shelby, like what are your favorite types of music? I say my two favorite genres are folk and EDM. So
wow. Well, look at that. Hello. Yeah.
Exactly.
She's like, she is your pinnacle, it seems.
Exactly. Oh my gosh, I was at a rave a couple weeks ago.
Love that.
And when somebody turned to me like over the music they were shouting, they're like, do you like what's your favorite type of music? And I was like, folk. And they were like, why are you here?
Like, who are you? Wow, I would love to see you at a rave. I've never been to a rave.
Oh my gosh.
Anything like that.
Let's go.
I went to my first rave. Here's how it went. Love that.
So what have you been listening to?
Oh man, I wanted to throw out a podcast rec because I've been listening to this podcast for like, I think a year now. I think it's been about a year. And I listen to it to like soothe me to sleep when I need to relax. I think it's called the No Sleep Podcast, which is scary stories, like on a podcast, and it's like a bunch of voice actors.
Very logical.
Yeah, no, it's like it doesn't make sense for a lot of other people, but like I love it, and they're all like. So they take horror stories written by various authors like throughout the world, and they have voice actors like act them out and kind of transcribe them, and there is nothing soothing about it. There's like screams, sound effects, whatever, but I think they just do such a great job at bringing these stories to life. And like, I was always a big fan of scary stories to tell in the dark when I was little. I'm a very spooky gal. I love all that. So that is like my bread and butter and usually puts me to bed so quickly.
We love to hear it.
Yeah, I don't know if this is good for anyone else, but it's good for me, so I'm gonna let y'all know about it.
I might listen to it on like my morning commutes. Like,
yeah, they're a little strange because it is like there are no visuals, so everything has to be, audio. It takes some getting used to, but they're really good. Oh, I hope you do.
Okay, remind me. I'll put it on my list.
Yes, definitely. All right, and then do you wanna tell the folks what we're talking about today?
Ooh, well, today we wanted to kind of bounce off of last week's episode where we talked about how busy we are and kind of discuss the unseen side effect of being busy besides sleep deprivation.
Yes.
And that is when you are a young woman and you're constantly on the go because you're constantly having meetings and internships and classes to get to.
Yes.
And what that means when you might have a lot of early mornings, a lot of late nights when you're trying to travel by yourself.
Yes, and that happens almost every day, almost every week. Pretty much from the minute you start college. And even if, you don't have a job, but you are at the library late at night and you have to go back to your apartment or dorm by yourself, coming back from a class downtown for us, we either can take the shuttle, the bus, or the train. So a lot of times people are coming back home by themselves, and a lot of students don't live necessarily on campus, so it's a bit of a walk for a lot of people.
Exactly. And it's especially like here in Chicago, we don't have cars with us. So we are only ever taking public transit or walking.
Yeah. God bless public transit though.
No, seriously.
That 147 bus is my lifeline. That is the only bus that is allowed to clip me one day.
Exactly.
That's about it. I love the 147.
I hope to go on the 147. I hope it just like carries me into the sunset.
Because it just takes you everywhere you need to go. It is my lifeline.
Exactly. And we thought that this is a reality that a lot of young women face. It's a shared experience that a lot of women discuss with each other, but maybe not necessarily with anybody else outside of your own friend group.
Because like everyone has stories, everyone has incidents, and sometimes it's not really a comfortable topic to bring to light for a lot of people, besides within friend groups or whatever.
Exactly.
And in addition to that, there are so many nuances that come with being a just a busy student, a busy woman in general. A woman on the go.
A woman trying to get there.
Did you title drop? Love that.
Maybe.
Wow, we gotta do that more. I don't know about you, but I tried the whole cute purse backpack. I did it last year. Whatever. I carry my life with me now. Yeah. Especially now because I don't dorm and I'm downtown all the time. I carry phone charger, headphone charger, laptop, couple books, couple notebooks, sweater, lunch, water bottle, like my coffee tumbler.
Exactly.
Like everything. And it's
oh my gosh.
It is hard. And lugging that back and forth.
Oh my gosh.
So just like little things like that.
Like
I want to discuss.
you like said you bring your lunch. Packing meals is such a hassle that I just find myself more often than not skipping meals.
Yeah.
Because I'm not going to pay for lunch every single day downtown.
It's expensive no matter where you go. Even like the places they have for students. It's more expensive at those places.
Exactly. Because as seniors, we're no longer on the meal plan. Mm-hmm. So if we're not at home, we're paying for what we're eating. And it's not in my budget.
It's truly not. It's truly not.
And it's hard when you come home super late at night and you already have to cook for yourself, like figure out what you're going to eat for supper. I personally love cooking, but
when do you have time?
Exactly.
Like, hello.
If I'm not setting aside 2 hours to make something, then it's just going to be something like toast or
like something super processed and frozen.
Exactly.
Most likely frozen.
Exactly. And especially if it's something super quick, something super easy, I don't have leftovers to bring with me for lunch in the morning. So then I wake up and all of a sudden I am walking out the door and I realize I just have to mentally prepare myself to not eat for the next 13 hours.
Yeah. And like that's how so many people's days go. So they have classes. That's baseline is just the classes. But so many people stack in, okay, I have my internship in between these classes. I need to run to the other end of the city for 4 hours, come back, do my night class. After the night class, I have a meeting for this club that I'm in. And then you're not coming home until, 9, 10 p.m., exhausted. The last thing you're going to want to do is, stir a pot of sauce to make some homemade pasta.
Exactly.
That is the last thing on your mind.
I think one thing that I found to, really help with this is setting aside 3-4 hours every Sunday or Saturday or whatever day you have time and just meal prepping. And that I do a lot of frozen things that I can throw in my freezer, and then I have at least one meal ready to go every week for the next 8 weeks.
Yeah.
Right?
I feel like a lot of people do.
Exactly. I have some. I'll maybe post an article on my favorite meal prepping recipes.
I meal prepped for the first 2 weeks of my life. Here's what I did. Yeah.
But I also really like making a really big helping of something. I love making 8 servings of chili or 8 servings of potato curry, and then just and then eating that night, and then just putting the rest in the fridge and eating the same thing for lunch every day.
Yeah, and
for a week.
I'm definitely spoiled in that regard because I at home Mama Responti really, really did it. She loves to cook all Italian food all the time, something different every day. But I noticed, when you get to college and you're cooking for yourself, you do have to have a salami sandwich every day for lunch for a year. That's it. That's all you have really time to make. Or you make a big batch. I make huge batches of pasta, 2 or 3 boxes, and then have to save that, which sucks.
Exactly. And there's other things too, it is so mentally draining when you leave the house in the morning at 8 a.m. and you can't come back until midnight.
I kiss my apartment goodbye. I'm I'm going to miss you so much. It's going to be a while till I see you next. Mm-hmm. I'll see you tonight. It is heartbreaking.
Exactly.
Heartbreaking.
But there's like some bigger issues that also come with being a woman on the go that we really want to discuss. One of those things being when you walk home and it's dark outside, you have to have pepper spray, or you have to have like the Chicago switchblades.
Yeah, like the legal, like what is it, like 3 inches is all you're allowed to have, something like that. And like, I don't know one person that doesn't like, you know, have a can of pepper spray in their backpack that they're taking to classes, or even just to go like, you know, shopping by themselves downtown. Like everyone has it either in the purse or like on hand. So that's also something in the back of your head pretty much at all times. If you're by yourself at all times, it's just something you need to be cognizant of.
It's just like one more thing when you're exhausted, you're drained, you're leaving maybe your internship or the library, and it's 10 o'clock, it's dark outside, and you don't want to think anymore, and you're already like thinking about, what do I still have to do when I get home? What do I have to make for supper? Like, do I have to do laundry still? But then there's that added, like, I better be careful on this walk home. Added
something. Wait.
What's the word? It's not the apprehension. It can really weigh on you.
Like, you can't totally relax when you want to relax most. And like, I'm pretty sure you had a similar experience. Pretty sure a lot of people do. Like, growing up, the number one thing my parents is like, never walk home alone. Like, call me, or, you know, be talking to someone. Never walk home alone. Like, you know, not in contact with anybody. And then you come, you know, to college, and like, this is something that's universal, not just something that happens here. Like, you really do need to walk home with somebody at night as a young woman. Just, it's something, another thing to put on your list of things that just adds up at the end of the day, and it's so exhausting.
Exactly. Or sometimes I don't want to wait 20 minutes at the student center for my friend to get done with her things. We can walk home alone, or walk home together. Like,
and that's something, like, I live with 4 other girls, and like, we do that all the time. We are exhausted, and like, we just want to come back to the apartment, but you know, we're only about like a 10-minute walk from most of the places on campus, but we'll just hang out in Damon, even if we don't want to, even if we're exhausted, and like semi fall asleep waiting for another roommate to come through so we can walk home together.
Exactly. And
tired.
It's not just walking. I have to take the CTA super late at night a lot, or super early in the morning, and it sucks because I love the CTA. I take the CTA every single day.
You bleed the red line.
Exactly.
You do,
exactly.
Truly.
And it's such a great commodity. I'm so thankful for it. Not having a car, it's what I rely on, and I think it's a great thing. I wish more cities in the U.S. had public transportation.
That is like a whole can of worms, and like, our Venture cards are included in our tuition.
Exactly.
And like, so many people use the train and buses multiple times a day, so like, you get as much bang for your buck as possible here.
Exactly. This is not us saying that the CTA is dangerous.
Oh, goodness gracious.
It's just that you have to be aware of things, especially as a young woman, especially at night.
Yeah, and like, this isn't news. This isn't breaking headlines. Like, this is just our experiences in the modern day.
Exactly.
What we experience.
And it's heartbreaking when you're put in a situation that you're used to every day. Like, I take the red line every day, and if I have one uncomfortable experience, it's so saddening that something that is almost always totally fine, totally normal, like, I feel totally safe on, when it becomes unsafe for even just a moment, that moment still sucks.
Yeah, because like, you know, and that goes back to things weighing on your mind, like, on your way to work, school, internship, whatever, like, you want to be going in with, you know, as positive as an attitude as possible, like, you know, with everything you do in life, you want to go in with like a clear mind, whatever, and like, that can rattle you for the rest of the day. And like, I think rattled is the best way to describe it, at least for, you know, myself.
Exactly. And we were kind of struggling with how to word this initially when we were discussing what we were going to talk about today, because we don't want it to feel as though we're complaining about how unsafe we feel all the time here in Chicago. That's not what we're trying to say. It's this idea that there's a shared experience as a woman to not have certain privileges available to you, like just intrinsically feeling safe on public transportation at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
That is just not a privilege you have available and it's exhausting.
It is so exhausting, and like I can recall so many conversations we've had with like a lot of our guy friends about like why we didn't want to take the train at night, even though we were going to be in a group. It's like, because you don't get stared at like that, or you don't get approached or spoken to or touched, because that's us.
Exactly.
Yeah, so it's tough. It's so hard.
Yeah, and most of the time, you and I were talking about this, we have a lot of privilege. Just
Oof.
the nature, you could go down the list. Being cis, being white, going to a private school, living in Rogers Park, which is a great neighborhood here in Chicago. It's a long list. And so it can be really difficult sometimes when you have a situation where you felt unsafe, where you felt uncomfortable, to navigate that within your own head, but also talk about it out loud, because you don't want to, like, I personally feel like I feel so dumb complaining about this man yelled at me and wouldn't stop staring at me in the CTA tonight and started walking towards me until I hopped off the car, because I don't have to walk through life normally fearing things like that.
Yeah, and like that's why like before we sat down and recorded this, we're like, do we want to record this? Do we want to do this? Like, do we want to speak on this at all? But I think you put it best, like, even if you felt remotely unsafe or harassed for even a moment, like, you kind of, owe it to yourself to flesh that out, to talk about it, to not just kind of brush it off, which I think a lot of people do brush it off. I think you had mentioned that also when we were having a conversation about it. So
yeah, no, it's easy to go home and to just like, that happened today. That sucked.
Yeah, you didn't. I didn't.
Let's go to bed.
That. Yeah, this is like time to go to bed. Time to try again tomorrow. And like a lot of people don't have a choice. Exactly. You have to take the red line. Like some people, that's the only way they can get to their internship. Like one of my roommates has to take red line to the brown line to get to her internship, or it would be the most expensive Uber. And like that's another thing. Like there were a couple occasions where like I was alone, had to come back from somewhere where taking the train was the most, viable option, but it was very late at night and I spent money I probably didn't have on an Uber. And I feel like that's something a lot of people do as well.
A lot of young women feel the pressure to do that. And it's rip. It's so sad.
It is rip. But
the point of all this, though, that we were trying to make is that, like, it's scary and it's hard when these things happen, but they're gonna happen. Like, it happens.
Yeah, it does.
It's just
part of everyday life.
Exactly. It's part of being a woman, and that sucks. And that's a big conversation about, like, society, like that.
Yeah, like a whole series of podcasts
exactly.
that we could create.
Exactly. But it shouldn't deter you from being busy and doing those things if that's what you want to do. And if you want to have that internship that you think will be super great for your portfolio, or you just love doing, but it means that you're going to be out late at night, you have to weigh the pros and cons of that.
No, of course. And it's like something that unfortunately, like, you have to think about. You have to think about, how you can do this amazing thing while still, keeping your head on a swivel, being as safe as you can, enjoying it as much as you can.
Exactly. And nobody should judge you for turning something down because you want to feel safe later. Just as nobody should judge you for keeping something where every night you're going to be on edge because you want to pursue it. As long as you go into it knowing and being prepared and taking all the necessary precautions.
Yes. Exactly. I like that. Very nice.
Exactly. Oh my gosh. I mean, it's so passionate. And it sucks that you have to, like, even weigh those.
It does, but again, the reality of being a female. That's it.
Exactly. So, from two very busy women who walk a lot alone at night, would you, do you regret that?
Oh, no. My gosh, no, not at all. And, like, everyone has had so many, negative experiences, but at the same time, like, some of my most fond memories are, like, taking chances with my friends during this time in college. So, like, no, I don't regret anything for sure. Just, like, as long as we're all being safe, sometimes turning down specific things if we don't feel safe. But on the opposite end, doing that.
Exactly.
What about
Exactly. No, I don't think I do either. And it's sometimes we were talking about this earlier too. Like, I think the one thing that I do regret is talking about some of those like uncomfortable instances with my family back in South Dakota or with my friends back in South Dakota.
Because it gives that perception of it's just in Chicago.
Exactly.
No.
Exactly.
This is the reality nationwide, worldwide. Like, this isn't just a specific area thing.
This is not a Chicago call-out podcast.
No.
This is not a CTA call-out podcast.
This is a societal call-out, okay? That's what this is.
Wow. So progressive.
Very meta. Wow.
But it was like a hard discussion to have, and we thought a long time about like how best to approach this and what was going to be most relatable to women in our situation without like demonizing things that don't need to be demonized.
Snaps. That's why you have a way with words. I just let you go. I love that.
No. But next week, I think will be a lot lighter topic. It will be a lot more fun to talk about to get through.
For you. Maybe for you.
Stop. What are we talking about next week?
So on October 10th, technically at 10 a.m., I turned 22.
Yes.
22 years old. Did you ever think about being 22, like in high school?
It was so far away.
So far away, you only thought about being 21. Like, that was the age. So, like, I'm jumping into the abyss right now. I don't know what's coming.
I'm going to, like, stand back on the cliff and, like, wave, like, goodbye.
That's how I feel. And I have a lot of friends that are, like, a year younger. And that means I'll be like, a year and then 2 years older than some. So I'm going to talk about that. Yeah. I'm going to talk about, all the things that I've learned in my 22 years because I'm just so wise now,
yes,
of course.
Obviously.
Yeah, and we're also going to be talking about our 21st birthdays and going along with that, the expectations that come with, like, finally turning 21. And, you obviously just have to go crazy, right?
Being an adult. Like.
Being an adult, of course. So get your streamers ready. Get your Mylar shiny 22 balloons ready to go.
We'll see you back here next Tuesday.
Yes, we will. And thank you guys so much for listening. We hope that you stick with us, and hopefully you'll be there when we get there.
Bye.
Bye.